Hey, Josh, good morning. I just wanted to talk a little bit today on our podcast about basically our AI coaching, what we do as far as being able to, integrate people, integrate community, and how you use AI by talking to it. But there is a verification process that you have to use. And I know you and I have been working on our AI, we call them AI agents, but I actually like to think of them as AI coaches. So a lot of times you have people that are in a situation where they need help. For example, I've got some clients that have VA problems, and as part of that, they just cannot afford a lawyer. They are unable to file paperwork on their own, and their case and their situation is, they're combat veterans who need help, and they're not able to get it. And even though they can get help from what's called a VSO or a Veteran Service Officer through the Department of Veterans Affairs, they are not really in control of their case. They're not in control of their ability to manage the paperwork that's going back and forth. When they talk to a VA administrative judge, they don't know what the script is. They don't know what it is they're supposed to do. They don't know the law. And so one of the things that we've created is the idea of having a VA coach or a VA AI agent that helps them through this thing and literally leads them through the process and has somebody they can quote unquote talk to. And we're going to also talk about how you talk to the VA agent, how you talk to an AI agent, how you verify the results of what you're being given so you don't have people are freaked out about hallucinations out there and everything else. And then finally, we're going to talk about being part of a community and why that matters when you're using AI versus just going out there and using ChatGPT or one of these servers that's out there, as a large language model talking to you individually, but not dealing with the case or your case as a larger group and a larger knowledge base. We're going to be talking about how there's this idea of the merger between an AI coach, the human being as what we call sovereign or the king or the decision maker, and how the two of them together can basically kind of outwit or function somebody that is just a human lawyer or a human collaborator versus there being just a AI agent that you're up against, that when you put those things two together, you have a really powerful tool in your hands. So that's what I'd like to talk about. I know you have some things that you kind of think about all this too as part of Reignmaker coaching.
Yeah, and I want to start off before we jump into it. We offer, for anybody who wants to be a part of Reignmaker and the community we're building, we have a Google form that's going to be in the description of this video, and you're going to be able to fill that out, and we're going to do an evaluation of how we can help you and how we can use AI agents to help you with your business or whatever it is you need help with.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you saying that, because one of the things that we're looking at is not just the idea of helping like a business or an LLC or financing and everything else. This is something that works for everybody. Works for somebody going through a divorce. Looks for somebody that needs to get in shape. It works for somebody that is basically, like I said, a veteran that's in a fight for their medical benefits. We're using it in all kinds of different areas. And one of the things that we're trying to do is the first step, and we talked about this in our last video, but our first step is just to teach you how to use this tool, how to communicate with it and go from there. So for us to be able to tell you what we can do for you, we start off with you communicating with us. And the way you start that off is by filling out our intake form. And then we're going to get back to you and start telling you what we can do and how we can help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what is the first topic that you'd like to focus on in our podcast today?
Well, one of the things that we do is we create the AI coach. We actually will go through, use what you've told us. We're going to both do the intake form, but we're going to do an interview with you. We're going to figure out what it is you're looking for. And then we're going to design a coach that is specifically for you based on the things you're going through. If you've got documents for us to feed to the coach, if you've got things that we need to talk about that you want it to solve, we're going to be out there and we're going to put that together for you specifically. So the first thing that most people do is they think of AI agents now. You're seeing this with these, prompt gurus that are out there on the internet. And you're thinking about the idea of, look, I need to learn how to prompt, or I need to be a kind of AI, guru myself where I learn how to prompt, I learn how to code, I need to learn how to do all these different things in a way that I can be a kind of coding tech specialist to use AI. That is not where we're at anymore. AI has evolved into a different place. We used to think that what we were going to do is have this one master agentic AI that you were going to talk to and it would know all things. That's not really where the AI agent is developing right now. What it's actually developing into is a group or an AI kind of back and forth conversation where you need to create, or we need to create for you, an AI agent that you talk to. You just talk to it like a normal person. You tell it what's going on. You learn how it talks back to you. And as weird as this may sound, you create a relationship. You have to figure out how to create a relationship with it, because the more you talk to it, the more it understands your data, the more it understands what you need, and the more its ability is going to use its precision, its understanding of the algorithms out there, the understanding of how a system works, and how it's going to be able to help you directly in what you're doing for your case. But it's not about prompting it. It's about having the right agent to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk a little bit about kind of what happens when you create a gem with a community using it and maximizing information inside of it. How do you think that changes the bot and how it behaves?
It's interesting you talk about that, because one of the things that happens with an AI agent, so this actually happens as a whole, and this is something that scares people. When you use like ChatGPT or use a Gemini that is connected into the overall, internet and all the data that's out there, it doesn't just regulate itself to what you're saying or what your community is saying. What it does is it goes out there and it looks for everything that's out there and it throws it all into one big pot. And it basically starts trying to use that data to teach you what it knows about the global whole. That sounds great, but it creates some problems, because sometimes it'll be looking at old data. It'll look at a live feed, what it thinks is live, and it's something that happened 2 years ago, and it's using older information. So one of the things that we use is Google Workspace. And we put this together and we use AI gems or AI agents or AI coaches that are all part of the same community. So when you're a veteran using our AI coach and you start talking to it, you have a specific, secret, confidential AI that you're using that nobody from the outside or nobody on the big internet can use or look at. But that AI agent is using your data and what you're saying, and it's learning from you. And it's using the current things that are out there, the current law, the current things. Like there was a big change in VA that just happened back in September of last year, and it's using the current law right now because that's how it was created. We constantly upload the newest things that have happened, so our AI agents are always up to date. But the other thing it does is when we have the second VA client come in and use that coach, what'll happen is that AI agent won't be able to talk to the other person about your case, but it learns what it's doing from the kind of case that he's in. Then when you have two other people that are on the same network that you are in, we're creating a VA cloud that's using the highest level law, the best things that are out there right now, the best techniques, the best strategies. And we're not getting clogged down in the internet as a whole. What we're doing is you're evolving the agent, you're evolving the coach, and it gets better for you as well as getting better for everybody else that's in your community. So this is part of what we're trying to do. We want as many people within this community, whatever community is. We've got another agent that's working on Maryland divorces right now. And the more people that have a Maryland divorce or a family custody case or those kinds of things that begin to work that in and be able to work into what's happening in their case and teaching that Maryland coach how to help them, it's going to help everybody else. And the longer you use it and the more you're part of that community, it grows. The other thing is nice about being part of the community and having an AI cloud of our community that grows is you can also go out there and we have a chat that if you want to ask specific questions of other people that are involved and you're not afraid to put it out into the open and say, hey, I'm having this problem with this judge, or I'm having a problem with this happening in my case. Is there anybody out there that wants to help me? We have that going on. That help among other people that are part of Reignmaker coaching. And finally, the other part of this is that you have us, you have me, and we're able to help them if they're having any kind of problem learning how to use the AI agent, learning how to talk to other people about what's going on, and learning about what's important in how to talk to their coach and their agent. We're going to help teach them that, and we're going to continually update this.
Yeah, and I want to talk about on the point of agents. So if you think about the starting point of what AI is, it exists in a sea of kind of infinite information in which, it has all these infinite amount of data points that it has to sift through. And that includes false information, that includes trolls information. So it has all this information to sift through. And so you have to, the more you specify, the more it can specifically work on a specific kind of on like a kind of subject. It'd be like if we're starting the podcast and you tell me you just want to talk about AI. Well, how many different topics are there to talk about on AI? But then if you specifically hone in on agents, I'm able to sort of sort out my expertise on that. And so AI works in the same way in which it has to, hone in on these specific topics to be able to help you, in maximized areas.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the idea of hallucinations in some way. I mean, so what we talk about is the first step that we have to teach you how to do is we've got to teach people how to talk to the AI agent. So we're not asking you to create the agent, creating the agent and putting up the initial guardrails. We do that. So we create agents that already have guardrails. They have a verification process that's put into how they're made. So it starts off like that. But even so, you're correct. When you have an agent or a coach that's out there looking at the internet as a whole, the problem with that it can look at bad data. It can look at something like a troll that's talking crap out there and basically giving the internet bad information. There are bad people, there are bad actors that do that. We can also have somebody that is out there and is giving website information and they just don't know what they're talking about. You see this all the time in some of the areas that I deal with, like say with military veterans and discharge upgrade. I'll have people tell me, look, there is only a 10% chance for you to win your case. But the reason they say that is because they're talking to somebody that lost the case. And you'll find that people that have gone through the process and they lose their case are 100%, 200%, 300% more vocal about losing. And so when an AI agent goes out there and looks at what it would call the statistics or the data, it's going to think that you're more likely to lose. But when you actually look at my personal ability to look at my data, my ability to win those kind of cases, I win 7 out of 10 times. So that means I have a 70% victory rate versus what the data on the internet shows, which is a 10% rate. The reason that's important is because when you're in the community and you set up those guardrails, you can stop the hallucination. But there's another way to do it. The other way to do it is when you create the AI, you create a verification system. You make it part of its own routine that when it gives you an answer, before it gives you an answer, it verifies itself. But there's another really important aspect to this, and it's you. It's you, the user. It's you being in collaboration with the AI. And the idea is that you have a role. So, for example, we have you and I, and more than that, but have a betting app that's out there that we use things like Kalshi and some other betting apps that are out there. And we basically use it to outperform the market, so to speak, or we use it in order to buy stocks. But one of the things you have to do is you have to be careful when you're using that live feed that's out there, because every once in a while, you'll run into a situation where it's looking at old data, but you want real-time live data to be used. And so what I do is I run a verification. I'll get an answer on, say I'm doing a sports event and I want to look at, say Cleveland versus the Lakers, but I may have a AI agent that misses the fact that we're not looking at Cleveland versus the Lakers from a year ago. We're looking at Cleveland versus the Lakers tonight. And I want it to be giving me up-to-date information, basket by basket by basket. So what I do is I run a verification and I literally ask it, where did you get your information from? And it'll tell you. And then as a human being, as the person that's running the AI agent, I go back and I tell it, fix whatever you're doing. Or like it did last night when I did a Miami versus Orlando game last night, over under. I got it right. I basically had a feed where I said, are you using the right feed? Yes. Show me what you're looking at. This is what I'm looking at. I executed what the over was on it. And then I kept track of the game because I said, every 5 minutes, give me a score update and tell me where we're at in case we got to sell this thing. And because we don't want to go to the end and lose. And it did that. And throughout the game, it kept verifying where it was getting the information from. So I didn't have to watch the game. I was just every 5-10 minutes, I'd look and go, okay, here's where we're at. We're good. We're about to win. Off we go. This actually played out in another thing that I was involved in last night. And the reason I'm talking about betting isn't because of what I'm trying to sell to people. What I'm trying to say is this is a great way to look at how live feeds work. So last night, I had quite a bit of money on the jobless claims report that was coming out this morning. And I had bet that the jobless claims were going to be on this week, were going to be under 210,000 jobless claims for the week. And I had a lot of bets on, a lot of contracts on this, but it was a close one. So I was up last night. It was late last night. And we had the jobless claims coming out at 8:30 in the morning. And the forecast suddenly overnight went from being 205,000 claims, and it suddenly spiked to a forecast of 215,000 claims. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to get my butt kicked at 8:30 in the morning because there's something really wrong here. Because my projections all week long using my AI was that we were going to be under 210. It was going to be close, but I'm about to triple my bet. I'm about to make 3 times my money, and suddenly you're now telling me that we're losing. And I don't see how that happened at 3 o'clock in the morning, but let me know. Let's figure it out. So it went back and it looked at the AI algorithms that were out there from all of the different AI algorithms, the big betting bots out there that were moving the market. And guess what it found out? They were hallucinating. And the reason they were hallucinating is because they were not taking into account the weather, which I had taken into account because I told my AI agent, we call it Trinity betting, but I had told it, I want you to look at the weather because I think it's going to keep people from going in and filing AI claims. And what Trinity came back and told me is that you're right. The vast majority of algorithms are looking at historical data, which is from the last 10 years, but you're looking at the moment to moment that's going on. And it said, you're betting under 210,000 initial claims, but the real number is going to be 206,000 to 209,000. You're good. Hold. Kept telling me hold. It looks like this is the time to run, but just hold. And this morning, I got up at 8:30. We basically had the results in, and it was right. It was right in that 206,000 to 209,000 range. But if I would have believed what I saw out there, because you have these other hallucinating AI agents, and I'm talking about the big bettors were hallucinating. The big bettors. So it shows you that there was no human being that was involved in those bets. It was a bot. It was AI working as AI without having a human management system. We're teaching you how to be the king over your AI because it makes a difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about with you. I know you've been working on this and the coaching aspect of it. I know that you want to get into coaching people. Tell me a little bit about what you think about the coaching part of this.
So let me start by how we got in. I kind of got into AI is, I think partially a big creditor would be the emergency we had within your business in which you had major eyesight loss during a pretty critical time in our business. And what we did is basically I had to take forward the role of managing the tech and the technical requirements that came with running a law firm. And so while you were blind, I kind of became your hands and your pen in getting people out legal memos, getting people out, the forms they needed. And that was a point in which I had to use AI and to make sure that, we were using AI to basically maximize the kind of memos people were getting because, I'm not a trained paralegal. I had to kind of learn it at that point from scratch. And what I found was a way to avoid the hallucinations, to get accurate information. And I think one of the ways we avoided that was the pure amount of information that exists within your business, the amount of data you've collected over the years, to where when the AI has access to that much data, there's not a lot of room for mistakes. And when there is, they're easily correctable. And so that was basically a way in which I became heavily involved in AI and had to learn it from scratch.
That's a great point. And I do want to talk about that just for a minute, because I think it talks about how powerful our collaboration was. That was literally one of the worst times of my life. I mean, our business relies on me, and I built it up in such a way that I'm the one that basically has run it by myself for years, and we make a lot of money. It supports our family. I have, family members working for us, but there's other people that we support also. And over about a 3-day period, I went blind. And I had started having vision problems over a year, but I was still able to work. And I wasn't properly, as a human being, looking at my personal data and saying, I'm starting to have a problem and this could go catastrophic. I didn't think that. I did not do what I should have done. And so overnight, I pretty much went completely blind, not a kind of black blind, but I was not able to distinguish light and color. And suddenly everything became white for me. And I was walking into walls. I couldn't work anymore. I wasn't able to look at things where I had relied on being on the computer and basically running my entire business from home on a computer. And suddenly it was over. And it's a scary feeling to watch your monthly income, your income suddenly be at risk when you have deadlines overnight that have to be completed, and you're suddenly out there without an ability to help and anything. And there was a cloud of information. I mean, I've been doing this business for literally going on my 26th year. I've been storing things in a cloud at least since 2012, and have been actually using different kinds of AI over the years, but have built an incredible and vast amount of clientele who are sending me work back and forth. And so the first thing that happened was when I had to turn to you, a first-year college student, somebody who is absolutely able to use and understands how to use AI, but had never done the kind of work we are doing. And we suddenly start using this and creating, we first started using Jasper AI, then we moved to Gemini. We went from one to another while we were doing this and found the best way to do it. But one of the most amazing things that happened during that time, one, is that you managed a company by yourself with the help of AI and me there giving you verbal help as you talked me through it. But I was in a situation where I couldn't look at the documents. And so we were able to use AI where you were literally managing a company that was making close to $1 million a year. And that was great. I mean, 100%, because not only was taking me out of the system, it didn't do what we thought it was going to do, because I prepared for a financial crash. I was preparing for, oh my goodness, we're in trouble. If we can just get by until I get this surgery, so much so that I was looking to go to, Costa Rica to get cataract surgery. I was looking to do anything to get myself back in the game while you're managing. And suddenly after the first month, we made a lot more money than we did the month before. We were making more money. The kind of things, the products that we were giving to our clients went up, because I had people telling me that when we had given our stuff to them to review, they would come back and say, this made me cry. And it was the collaboration. It was the idea that we were all working together with a coach that had access to our data. And it ended up being a phenomenal success, that it changed the way we did business and started this business, because this is a tool that will take a regular business and turn it into a business where it's almost like you have 10 employees working for you at once, creating the highest level product. And then if you really get good at it, there's going to be 100, and then 1,000, and then 10,000. And if you learn how to use this and you learn how to scale up, you will be amazed. So when we create, say, the personal trainer that's going to look at your blood sugar, look at your weight, look at how to do this, where you give it information and data throughout the day on how to lose weight and what the best way to do that is, you're not getting one personal trainer, you're getting 10, and they all work together. So we could talk about that at a later time. But, one of the things I tell everybody is it was my son that saved my business. And I still believe that to this day, but it was your collaboration and your understanding how to collaborate and how to use our data, our personal data, in order to do that. So when we're telling you about Reignmaker and being part of a community, we're talking about being a part of a community that takes that same idea of having all this information and putting it together in such a way that other people and you are all using the same AI agents together to collaborate, to be better than the algorithms, to be better than the human adversary, because they're not doing what you need to do in order to run your case or to run your life or whatever it is. And this is going to be the first level of what we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you how to run your life using this. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to run your business. And the thing after that is we're going to teach you how to be a part of a community of businesses that use each other in order to elevate everybody. And then we got level 4 and 5, and we don't talk about it at this level. It's a much higher level way of thinking about it. It's a kind of collaboration with the AI as a coaching agent, the human as the king over the AI, the cloud acting as the cloud and giving you data. And then there's higher levels where that all comes together to make you a lot of money, to make you a new person, and to have what we call sovereignty over your life. We'll talk about sovereignty later and why it's going to be so important, because there's going to be a change in society that we already kind of talked about last podcast, but it's a coming. The singularity has already happened. We're already moving to that place.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to answer your question earlier, you were asking me about coaching. And so what I want to do as a coach is I want to take people from a place in which, the building is on fire, the business was on fire, and we're able to see through the smoke and not only find the other side, but get to a point in which you're thriving above the fire. Because we were at a point in which things could have almost collapsed, but through just using AI, and not just using it, but maximizing the product we were selling. Because, you hear a lot about, false legal memos being submitted in court and all these different issues that have happened in, legal issues, but we submitted better legal memos using AI. We used AI to maximize the product, of the legal business. And so I want to coach people on how to teach them how to thrive using AI and, avoid hallucinations and get the maximized product to offer people.
I think it's interesting what you're saying, because I'm actually interested in this. I mean, we're kind of moving into a topic where it's your perspective of it. But I mean, when we started trying to save our business, we were in a place where you were not a legal professional. I mean, you're my son. You've heard me talk about the legal, what we do as far as the legal is concerned. But there came a point where I needed you to deal with the clients through email. I needed you to produce product. I needed you to be able to do this thing. And we had to do it through the creation of an AI agent and what that looked like. Just tell me about your experience and your growth, maybe, and what changed about you and what changed in your experience. Because suddenly you're telling me, at the end of the 3-month, 4-month period, you're like, Dad, I managed a business that is doing massive amounts of money. And I'm proud of that. I mean, I'm proud of what I've done, but there was lessons that you learned. Tell me just about the personal growth and tell me about that.
So I think to start off, it was a lot of weight on my shoulders. I think I felt the weight that a lot of people are going to be feeling, through as people start losing jobs and start feeling the pure weight. But AI actually became kind of a refuge through this situation, because what it does is it acts as a time saver in a lot of ways. The truth is, we only have so many hours in the day in which we can produce a product. But when you take AI, which can just, you work back and forth with it. And I've used a lot of Upwork to manage, the video making we were doing around that time. So, I was kind of aware of what it's like to work back and forth with, another person. And so AI was a lot like, it was almost like another employee that I was just working back and forth with to get these, created and submitted for you. And so I think I learned a lot about just the process of working with an agent back and forth. And that was one of the main things I kind of took away from that was how you work with it, how you avoid the hallucinations, how you get the best product. Because there's times where you have to just start from the drawing board. You never want to just take something and run with it, but it's a collaboration. And that was one of the things I learned a lot about was the collaborating process with AI.
Finally, I just want to talk about one last thing and we'll kind of, wrap this up. But one of the things we learned is it's the initial information that we get from people that becomes really important. So we usually do a form that we are going to then do a interview, and those two things together give us a kind of information when you answer the questions that we have that helps us create exactly what you need. Talk about that process because you worked that for quite a while.
Yeah, so this is what we're offering to do for anybody watching the podcast. It's completely free. You can submit a form and we're full transparency. This is what we do. We're going to use AI on you. We're going to run an AI overview of what you need, and we're going to tell you what we can do for you. And this is what we did with intake clients. And this is one of the things that made us so successful during this period in which you were struggling with your eyesight is an intake would come in, they'd tell us what they needed, and we'd run a complete overview AI scan, and it would tell us, look, these are the points, this is what the person needs. And so we just basically regurgitate the information they gave us, and we'd say, this is what you need, this is what we can do for you. And it was a great marketing technique to bring people in. And not only that, it set the expectations, of what our role was going to be for them. And, so nobody's confused about the product they're getting. And it was just highly successful and I think important for what we were doing.
And I think one of the other things that was really important about that is there is a part where we look at it and it basically regurgitates to us what we need to do and where the law applies. And basically something we use as a tool in evaluating. But there was another part where we really do step in as the coach, because we will go through and look at that case evaluation and we will use our management, our ability to understand, our teaching ability to ask you more about what you need. So there is that collaboration, and we're going to collaborate with you. So it will eventually look like the AI coach, the Josh Jamie coach, and you as the student and your needs. And we're going to work as a group. And then eventually you're going to become part of a community that's going to produce what we would call a product, but it's going to produce a relationship where you're going to be able to fix the problems you have.
Yeah, what we are is we are advocates. So we advocated for veterans during, we've advocated for veterans and why they should get a discharge upgrade, why they should, have cases dropped against them. And now what we're doing is in this business, we're advocating for your employment. We're advocating for you to be your own boss and to be financially free and to be successful. And so we're still those advocates for you, and we're going to tell you what you need and how we can help you.
All right. Well, fill out the form. We'll talk to you and we'll basically start helping you. At the very least, even if we can't help you, we'll lead you in the right direction. But we appreciate you listening today, and I hope this helps, and we look forward to working with you. Reignmaker Coaching.
Absolutely. And all that is linked in the description, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you. Bye.